All right, shalom,
Shalom.
and welcome to our new moon celebration. As we know, a new moon is a new month. This is what Yahweh has given unto us to um, keep His time, to keep the time that He has set forth for us to be able to keep our holy days in the correct season. We have to observe these things, and by having us continually to observe these things, we have been given these signs in the sky for us to be able to tell the times that we are in. We have gotten so accustomed to having to look at our phones and look at our gadgets to find out where we are. But the moon, Yahweh has placed these things in the sky for us to give us an indication of where we are as far as our months go. Now, I mentioned earlier that I had gotten a email, and actually I had gotten two emails. One from a brother that worships with us faithfully and has, every time we broadcast, he's there. Brother in North Carolina um, sent me an email, and when I first did um, um, the first sermon over like a year something ago, I didn't say any names. He knew exactly who I was talking about because he said he had made it out of this, erroneous teaching. Um, but then I started, got another email where, somebody was really upset that they had been following um, um, an individual or their family, and there were some real situations that ended up being there. But I want to read something that we went over today in Matthew 24 and verse 24. It says, "For there shall arise false Mashiachs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before." Now, that whole thing was, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. It should get down to the point where it gets very difficult for us to be deceived. In the beginning of your walk, yes, we're going to be gullible. We're going to make some mistakes. We're going to do some things. But as we keep going further and further in this walk, it should be harder for somebody to come with a new doctrine and just win you over. And it is amazing to me how many people have been exercised in the walk, yet but still fall victim to these newly found things of information that sounds nice. Now, it's one of those things that eventually we have to do. Of course, in reading the email, the individual was very, upset that they had, trusted in some people, and it turned out not to be what they thought it was. But anytime we get deceived, the easier part to do is always to look at the deceptive individual and say that this person has deceived me. I'm upset. The harder part is to look in yourself and figure out, why did you get deceived? You got to figure out, what door did they come in through? What hole did I have in my armor that allowed them to get in and deceive me? That's the more difficult question to ask, because what you got to do is find that hole in your armor and fix it. That's the more difficult thing to do. It's real easy to just be mad at the individual who did the deception. It's real easy to just be mad at the person that presented something that was not true. But you have to ask yourself, how did I fall victim to this? Was I open to hearing a smooth liar? Was I desiring the things that they were talking about? Is that how they deceived me? That's what you got to find out. And you got to fix that hole. That's the thing that we have to deal with. I want to read something in Luke chapter 12, verse 8 and 9. It says, also I say unto you, whosoever shall confess me before men, him shall the Son of Man also confess before the angels of Elohim. But he that denies me before men shall be denied before the angels of Elohim. When you get down to dealing with these things, just like Yeshua telling or saying some things before it happens, it becomes very uncomfortable for people. But when even dealing with this situation, I had ended up mentioning to some people about this individual. They still kept that individual on their website until it got put out in the open. Now they want to go and pull those things down and act like they wasn't a part of that individual, but they was putting their stuff out, broadcasting it. This is why I tell people you have to be careful sending other people's stuff out, because if other people fall victim to that, guess what? You now have blood on your hands because you helped push that erroneous information. Now, we're talking people who knew certain things or had heard for over a year, and they still pushing that on their website. Then when it starts getting out to the public, now you want to pull that stuff down, but you can't go and get that blood off those people's hands. See, you can't go get that blood off. See, taking it down from your website does not untell that lie. This is why we don't just grab something and put out anything that somebody comes with. This is why that stuff, you got to sit on it for a minute, because you don't know what kind of blood you might end up having on your hands listening to somebody else's stuff and say, oh, this sounds pretty good. And now you done sent it out. And then you got a long trail of blood from other people that you have sent these things to. Let's begin in 2 Peter chapter 2.
Second Peter chapter 2 and verse 1. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you.
There shall be. Yahweh said, I'm not going to remove everything from you. There are certain things that I'm going to leave among you just to see if you're going to serve me or not. So thinking that, we got to go and remove every erroneous teacher we find. No, some of that is a part of your spiritual growth. Some of that is meant for you. Go ahead.
Who privately shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Adonai that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And through covetousness shall they with vain words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingers not, and their damnation slumbers not.
Right. So they say whatever they got to say to get as much money as they can possibly get. And they're making merchandise of the people. And they are going to pay for that in Yahweh's due time. Go ahead.
For if Elohim spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly.
Right. So you got an example of what's going to happen. Go ahead.
And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Adonai knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government. Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They're not afraid to speak evil of dignities.
But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness. You have to turn around. You have to pay attention and watch the things that's going on around you. My elder used to say, keep your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut, and you might learn something. Everybody don't come to church for the same reason. Some people come for their salvation. Some people just came to hang out. It's just something cool to do because the club costs too much. When I was young, my next door neighbor was telling me, "Hey man, you ought to go to my come to me with my daddy's church, man. He's got a lot of nice girls in there." I said, "Bro, I don't play like that. You need to find somebody else to play with." And they looking at me like, "But ain't you the dude that just shot up the house down there?" I said, "Yeah, but I got a line I won't cross. I don't play around with God." And I didn't know who Yahweh was. He hadn't even showed me any of his power then. He showed me some of his power now. Now I'm seriously, I don't play them kind of games. Go ahead.
Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Adonai. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, and shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they that count it pleasure to ride in the daytime. Spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you. Having eyes full of adultery, and that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls, and heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children.
Right, covetous practices, coveting, desiring things that belong to someone else, desiring things that don't belong to them, having eyes full of adultery and cannot cease from sin, but then beguiling unstable souls. So what we have to do, you can't get all evil people out of the earth. What you have to do is make yourself strong enough that you don't become their victims. What thieves look for is an easy theft. That's what everybody's looking for. You are never going to stop the true thief. You know what I'm saying? If it's a Mission Impossible dude, he gonna hang from the ceiling. You know what I'm saying? He gonna, he gonna suspend down in your living room. He not gonna do that for a DVD player, okay? So 9 times out of 10, you ain't got nothing he want. So what you got to do is make it hard enough for the individual in your tax bracket to want to get your stuff. Now, if you got $1 million Van Gogh or something like that, then you got to up your game to try to protect that. But you got to make sure that you're not the easy target. So then the deceiver moves on. And it's the same way with people, with anything. The whoremonger lurks among the women to look for the easy target. You stop being the easy target, he'll stop following you. And it ain't just he whoremongers, it's female whoremongers too. And they lurk for the easy targets. Stop being an easy target, they leave you alone. Go ahead.
Verse 15, which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam the son of Besor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness, but was rebuked for his lawlessness. The dumbass speaking with man's voice forbade the madness of the prophet.
Right. So literally, you can be biblical when you call somebody a dumbass. You say, you dumbass. I mean that biblically. I can tell you, 2 Peter. Go ahead.
These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness. Those that were clean escape from them who live in error.
Right. So then when you look at all of this deception that's going on, instead of focusing on the deception, you got to focus on what made me a victim to the deception. Go ahead.
While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Adonai and Savior Yahshua the Mashiach, they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse with them than the beginning.
Right. And our beginning is our baptism. This is where you begin and start your walk. If we then turn around and get right back into the things that we were doing before, then we have openly cursed our Elohim. Go ahead.
For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than, after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb, the dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire.
The dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the sow, the pig that was washed, to her wallowing in the mire. A pig cannot stay clean. A pig have to go jump in the muddy pool to cool off. It doesn't have any other way to cool itself down. So it will always be a filthy swine. You hear that thing when they say filthy swine? It can never be anything but. There's no other way. When people say, man, I was sweating like a pig. Well, that means you wasn't sweating, because the pig can't sweat. It don't have sweat glands. So you could never be sweating like a pig. Pig don't sweat. So it will always be filthy. You can wash that pig, and as soon as that pig find a muddy hole, he gonna jump right in it, and he feel comfortable. Oh, man, I done cooled off. So hot out here. This is what Yahweh likens us to when we keep falling back to our old ways. You like the pig that keep jumping in the mud. He wash you off, and you go find another little muddy hole to jump in. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 13. Deuteronomy chapter 13, and let's start that at verse 1.
Verse 1. If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and gives you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spake unto you, saying, let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and let us serve them. You shall not hearken unto the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Yahweh your Elohim proves you to know whether you love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul.
Right. So he's going to have some slick deceivers along your midst. He's going to have some smooth talkers around to say everything you want to hear. What you going to do? Because Yahweh's not going to remove it from you. That's part of your strengthening. That you got to look the deceiver in the eye. Listen to all the smooth things that are said and say, I know everything you're saying is a lie. Go ahead.
You shall walk after Yahweh your Elohim and fear him, and keep his commandments, and obey his voice, and you shall serve him and cleave unto him. And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death, because he has spoken to turn you away from Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to thrust you out of the way which Yahweh your Elohim commanded you to walk in. So shall you put the evil away from the midst of you. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son, or your daughter, or the wife of your bosom, or your friend, which is as your own soul, entice you secretly, saying, let us go and serve other gods.
But you know, that's not what we think we're doing. We just think we're listening to a new doctrine, that we're listening to a new way of somebody speaking. But once you start examining it, you find out, wait a minute, they're dealing with some other stuff. So now you have to ask yourself, did the adversary use you to entice other people to go and worship another God? This is why you have to examine what it is people are talking about. Because folks know how to hide their deception real good, especially when you're dealing with some of these Christian Hebrews. Because they want to constantly deal with we Israel, we Israel, we Israel. That's one of the things my elder told me years and years ago. So what? We Israel. What you going to do after that? We're just going to continue to have Israelite pep rallies? At some point, we got to figure out what is needed to attain unto our salvation. And pep rallies ain't going to do that. They just make you feel good about, yeah, you Israel. Okay, now what? Go ahead.
Which you have not known, you nor your fathers, namely, of the gods of the people which are round about you, near unto you, or far off from you, from the one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. You shall not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him. Neither shall your eye pity him, neither shall you spare, neither shall you counsel him.
Conceal
him, pardon
See,
me.
you shall not hide the deeds. See? And these are the things that are needed for righteous judgment. You shall not consent unto him, nor hearken unto him, neither shall your eye pity him. You know what we do? Well, I'm just going to be, I'm going to be neutral. I'm sorry. Yeshua has a word for that. It's called lukewarm. He said, I wish that you were either hot or cold. But lukewarm has absolutely no purpose in life. You're not hot, you're not cold. I can find something for cold. Cold I can use. I can find something for hot. Hot I can use. But this room temperature stuff, there's absolutely nothing I can do with that. That I gotta get rid of. It has no purpose. Go ahead.
Verse 9, but you shall surely kill him. Your hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. And you shall stone him with stones that he die.
See, the law was written in stone, and the punishment ended up being the stone that the law was written in. So people don't see the artistic part even within Yahweh's punishment. He said, yeah, throw the stones. Why are we throwing stones? Wasn't that how the law was written? Okay. And when you broke the covenant, he cracked the stones. Go ahead.
Because he has sought to thrust you away from Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. And all Israel shall hear and fear, and shall do no more any such wickedness as this is among you.
Right. So there's certain things you got to deal with out in the open, so the rest of the people know, well, I ain't going to do that right there. See, they got to learn to respect and obey Yahweh and obey the culture that was given unto us. But sometimes people have to learn that the hard way. And other people need to see them learn it the hard way. So they'll learn Yahweh ain't nothing to play with. Go ahead.
If you shall hear say in one of your cities, which Yahweh your Elohim hath given you to dwell there, saying, certain men, the children of Belial, are gone out from among you, and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their city, saying, let us go and serve other gods, which you have not known.
Right. Let us go serve other gods. They doing some nice stuff over here. Come to figure out, it is stuff that is worship of other gods. People have a way of concealing the things that they are into. They present them like it's one thing, but they really off doing something altogether different. And I mean, they completely hide it. But they know that we are creatures of habit. So what happens is, if you have already entertained that 3 or 4 times before you figure out what it is, what are you going to do once you figure out that it is another God that you have been worshiping? Are you now going to say, well, I'm accustomed to it? Or are you going to do everything you got to do to throw it out of your heart, your life, your presence? Go ahead.
Then shall you inquire, and make search, and ask diligently. And, behold, if it be truth, and the thing certain, that such abomination is wrought among you, you shall surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly, and all that is therein, and the cattle thereof with the edge of the sword. And you shall gather all the spoil of it into the midst of the street thereof, and shall burn with fire the city, and all the spoil thereof every whit. For Yahweh your Elohim and it shall be in heap forever. It shall not be built again.
Right. Now, to be able to do this, that means we have to look past some gain that we might possibly get. And see, everybody ain't able to do that. We just gonna sit all there's some good stuff in there. I saw some good things in there. No, Yahweh said burn all of it. Go ahead.
And there shall cleave not of the cursed thing to your hand, that Yahweh may turn from the fierceness of his anger and show you mercy, and have compassion upon you, and multiply you as he has sworn unto your fathers.
And there shall cleave nothing of the cursed thing to your hand. See, once we grab a hold of the cursed thing, we're cursed just like the thing. Now you have brought the cursed thing in your house. Now your house dealing with the curse. Go ahead.
When you shall hearken to the voice of Yahweh Elohim, to keep all his commandments which I command you this day, to do that which is right in the eyes of Yahweh your Elohim.
All right, let's go to 1 Kings chapter 22. Let's start that at verse 6.
Verse 6.
Yeah.
Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, Shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, Go up, for the Adonai shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of Yahweh besides, that we might inquire of him?
Right. So when you're dealing with people, they got their yes men already around to agree with everything that they're going to do. It's not directed by Yahweh, but they got people that are going to tell them that everything that they're doing is good. And if you listen to them people, those people not on your side. Those people on their side. Go ahead.
And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, There is yet one man, Micaiah the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of Yahweh, but I hate him.
Now, here is your problem. So we got a servant of Yahweh, but I hate him. Right. Why? Why you hate the servant of Yahweh? But you like the deceivers though. Why? Because the deceivers say everything nice and smooth. And it's the deceiver that's trying to kill you. But that servant of Yahweh, he say some rough stuff. Right. Go ahead.
For he does not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, Let not the king say so.
This should have been the end of their agreement right here. You hate the prophet of Yahweh, it's time for me to go. This seemed like a union that we don't need to make. Because look like now you hate somebody that I can't help but love. It's a servant of Yahweh, but you hate him. I think this is going to be our exit point. Go ahead.
Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, Hasten hither Micaiah the son of Imlah. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat the king of Yehudah sat each on his throne, having put on their robes, in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria. And all the prophets prophesied before them. And Zedekiah the son of Chenan made him horns of iron. And he said, Thus says Yahweh, With these shall you push the Syrians until you have consumed them. And all the prophets prophesied so, saying, Go up to Ramoth Gilead, and prosper, for Yahweh shall deliver it into the king's hand.
And don't think that everybody who use Yahweh's name is telling the truth. Folk are lying Yahweh's name like it ain't nothing. That don't mean nothing to them. It's just another name because they don't serve him anyway. And if you listen to them for long enough and listen to the words that come out of their mouth, you can tell they don't serve Yahweh. They don't care nothing about lying. Yahweh said, I hate liars. He said, all liars shall have their part of the lake that burns with fire and brimstone. Folk will read it and then lie as soon as they get through reading it. All lies shall have, and then get up and tell a lie. Go ahead.
And the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spake unto him, saying, Behold, now the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. Let your word, I pray you, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good.
Now, this reminds me of when I had to pay the $1,000 for the prophet lie, and they were trying to make me pass out like everybody else, and the pressure was, go ahead and fall down like everybody else done fell down. Go ahead and do the fake pass out in front of the congregation just like everybody else. Now everybody else done prophesied good. Now they said, now go ahead and do like everybody else now. Follow the group. Go ahead.
And Micaiah said, As Yahweh lives, what Yahweh says unto me, that will I speak.
And that's why they hate Yahweh's servants. Because Yahweh's servants say the thing that he puts into their mouth. Even if it take half the room off, they gonna say what Yahweh pushed them to say. Go ahead.
So he came to the king, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, Go and prosper, for Yahweh shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure you that you tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of Yahweh? And he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And Yahweh said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell you that he would prophesy no good concerning me but evil?
Right. And evil is to people whatever I don't like. See, the prophecy didn't go on my behalf, so it's evil. Because it ain't what I wanted to hear. See, so I hate the man of God. I hate him. Right. Go ahead.
And he said, Hear you therefore the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And Yahweh said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit and stood before Yahweh. And I said, I will persuade him.
All right, we're in 1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 21. And now there came forth the spirit and stood before Yahweh and said, I will persuade him. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets.
So now we got an angel saying that I'm going to go and I'm going to be a lying spirit. Now we got Yahweh's word, and he says, I hate all liars. Yet you got an angel standing before Yahweh saying, I am going to persuade this man to go up and fight by telling lies. Now, we know the adversary drew a good part of those angels after him. So they follow Lucifer, not Yahweh. And they are the ones that are going to help revolt and fight this war against Yahweh. Remember that. Go ahead.
And he said, You shall persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so.
Right. He said he was going to lie. Yahweh said, go on, tell that lie then. Go, you going to do what? I'm going to be a lying spirit. You go on with your little lying self. Go ahead. Hey. When Judas was getting ready to do his thing, Yahshua didn't stop him. He said, matter of fact, go ahead, man, go and do that. You like money? Here, hold the bag. Right. He didn't stop him. Yahweh doing the same thing. Oh, you going to go be a lying spirit? Do that. And I'm sure they marked him from that point. All right, we know he was Lucifer. And we ain't heard of nobody else up here lying. Because his book said, when you tell a lie, you tell the creation of the adversary, the devil, because he created lying. He invented it. It is his. So it's interesting that a spirit would come forth and say, I'll go and lie. And he came up with that himself. It ain't like Yahweh said, who gonna go and tell a lie for us? He said, who gonna go and persuade this man to come up? I'll go. Send me. I like lying. Right. Go ahead.
Now therefore, behold, Yahweh has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these your prophets, and Yahweh has spoken evil concerning you. But Zedekiah the son of Chenaiah went near, and smote Micaiah on the cheek, and said, which way went the spirit of Yahweh from me to speak unto you?
Right. So you don't say what I want you to say. You get slapped in the mouth. Now this prophet, he get hit in the mouth because he didn't say what was pleasing unto other people. And the pressure was on. Everybody else done prophesied and said this thing. This is how people get stuck saying things or doing things within a congregation because other people are doing it. So then they get put on the spot that I got to agree with these other people. Go ahead.
And Micaiah said, behold, you shall see in that day, when you shall go into an inner chamber to hide yourself. And the king of Israel said, take Micaiah and carry him back unto Amon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son, and say, thus said the king, put this fellow in the prison, and feed him with bread of affliction and with water of affliction until I come in peace.
Now he says he's going to come back in peace, but understand something. This is now a prophet, another prophet, getting thrown in jail. Yet, every time you turn around, somebody claim that they some kind of master prophet. And they this. Man, these prophets went through so much stuff. Brother done got, first of all, punched in the face, then thrown in jail. And he hasn't done anything wrong. His wrong was telling the truth. Go ahead.
And Micaiah said, if you return at all in peace, Yahweh hath not spoken by me. And he said, hearken, O people, every one of you.
All right. So everybody had an opportunity to figure out which one they were going to listen to. Now, it's harder to listen to the dude who got hit in the face and locked in jail. It's easy to listen to the king because he just had 4 or 5 people to say exactly what he wanted them to say. And all of us would like to believe that if Yahshua was here, we would openly choose him. Would we? Because he wouldn't be the popular choice. Y'all do know that, right? He would be the least popular choice. Everybody would go with the other guy, whoever he is. Let's go to Acts chapter 8. And we have a tendency to watch to see where the popular traffic is. That's why we even look at some videos. We look and the video said 150,000 views. We say, oh man, I need to look at this. 150,000 people thought it was interesting. You do know you can buy them views, right? I don't think people understand that. You do know you can purchase those, right? So you're looking at people and they got 200,000 views. You do know you can, if you want to, you can get your 250,000 views too. You can get them all by the night. Right. And then maybe you can get some other people who like to follow the masses that say, this is something worth looking at, something worth listening to. Right. Go ahead.
Acts chapter 8 and verse 1. And Saul was consenting unto his death. And at that time there was a great persecution against the church, which was at Jerusalem. And they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. And devout men carried Stephen to his burial, and made great lamentation over him. As for Saul, he made a havoc of the church, entering into every house, and hailing men and women, committed them to prison.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore they that were scattered abroad went everywhere preaching the word.
Right. So even the persecution had its purpose. The persecution sent the word in every direction because they're running from this persecution, but they taking in their heart the word. So then when they go somewhere and start talking, the word comes out. This is how Yahweh spread the word. Through that very affliction that those people went through. Go ahead.
Then Philip went down to the city of Samaria and preached Yahshua unto them. And the people with one accord gave heed unto those things which Philip spake, hearing and seeing the miracles which he did. For unclean spirits, crying with loud voice, came out of many that were possessed with them.
Okay, pause. When the people say they caught the spirit, what ended up happening? Read that again.
For unclean spirits, crying with loud voice, came out of many.
Right. All them people claiming that they caught the spirit, it sounds just like a demon when I read this book. They go to yelling and screaming and taking off running. They say they caught the spirit. This book said, wait a minute, that's them demons. Those are unclean spirits. See, they just left out a word. They say, I caught the spirit. No, you caught the unclean spirit. I think you left out a word. Because what we read earlier today, the spirit come upon people. They got 7 attributes that they could end up with based upon that spirit. Yelling and screaming is not one of them. But you know, it is an attribute of a demon. Imagine that. Go ahead.
And many taken with palsies, and that were lame, were healed. And there was great joy in that city. But there was a certain man called Simeon, which before time in the same city used sorcery, and bewitched the people of Samaria, giving out that he himself was some great one.
Right. And this is what we do. We go and connect with other so-called great people and present these things in a very polished view, and people love it. And people go and pay a bunch of money to go and hear some people talk like they know what they're talking about. Go ahead.
To whom they all gave heed, from the least to the greatest, saying, This man is the great power of Elohim. And to him they had regard, because that of long time he had bewitched them with sorceries. But when they believed Philip preaching the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim and the name of Yahshua the Mashiach, they were baptized, both men and women.
But when they believe, see, this is there's action connected to belief. So you're going to find those that got a whole lot of talk, but there ain't no action with them. When they believed Philip preaching the things concerning the kingdom of Elohim in the name of Yahshua, they were baptized, both men and women. You got people going out there meeting on the corner with all their little purple on. Not one of them ever been baptized. Not the leader, not the follower, not the young one, not the old one. They got so-called elders that ain't never been baptized. And your baptism is your rebirth. So what you listening to is a 60-year-old spiritual fetus running off at the mouth. You got spiritual fetuses that always want to say something. You ain't even been born yet. Don't talk. How you gonna teach something? You don't know nothing. You ain't been born. We had people come in here. Ain't been born the first. Can't wait to offer something up. Can't wait to talk. We had to shut one down and send them all out of here. I'm talking spiritual fetus. Ain't had one little labor pain yet. Ain't thought about getting in no water, getting baptized. But want to sit back in the back of the room and talk. Fetuses don't talk. Read, bro.
Verse 13. Then Simeon himself believed also, and when he was baptized, he continued with Philip, and wondered, beholding the miracles and signs which were done. Now when the apostles which were at Jerusalem heard that Samaria had received the word of Elohim, they sent on to them Cephas and Johanan, who, when they were come down, prayed for them, that they might receive the Holy Spirit. For as yet he was fallen upon none of them, only they were baptized in the name of the Adonai Yahshua. Then laid they their hands on them, and they received the Holy Spirit.
They received the Holy Spirit. Go ahead.
And when Simeon saw that through the laying on of the apostles' hands the Holy Spirit was given, he offered them money, saying, "Give me also this power, that on whomsoever I lay hands, he may receive the Holy Spirit."
Now, he go from being a person who can't receive nothing. He come out of it, and look at how quickly he fell back. Because now I can purchase this gift. Go ahead.
But Cephas said unto him, "Your money perish with you, because you have thought that the gift of Elohim may be purchased with money. You have neither part nor lot in this matter, for your heart is not right in the sight of Elohim. Repent therefore of this your wickedness, and pray Elohim, if perhaps the thought of your heart may be forgiven you. For I perceive that you are in the gall of bitterness, and in the bond of lawlessness." Then answered Simeon, and said, "Pray you to the Adonai for me, that none of these things which you have spoken come upon me." And they, when they had testified and preached the word of the Adonai, returned to Jerusalem, and preached the gospel in many villages of the Samaritans.
All right, that's as far as I want to go there. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2.
Second Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 1. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that you be not soon shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as that the day of the Mashiach is at hand.
Right. And even though you see the wicked prosper, the wicked come with their games, they come with all their little tricks and whatnot, and they prosper. Don't be shaken by that. They gonna have their day. They gonna have their day to look eye to eye with Yahshua. And not one dime they have gotten is going to do them any good, because he won't be bought off. He cannot be bribed. It is very difficult to bribe somebody who owns the whole earth. You really don't have anything to offer him. That's how you bribe people. You offer them something that they can benefit from. Here's the problem. They don't have anything that Yahshua wants. And the stuff that we could offer him is already his. Go ahead.
Let no man deceive you by any means, for that the day shall not come, except there come a falling away first.
Right. So why are we confused? There must be a great falling away from sound doctrine. Why are we surprised? We go out and start teaching some lies, we wouldn't have enough room up in there. Because people like to hear smooth words. But those smooth words are not going to get you your salvation. Those people hate you. Those people are using you. Go ahead.
And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worship, so that he as Elohim sits in the temple of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim.
Once again, referring back to this Pope who has to go over in Jerusalem and proclaim that he is Elohim. And the Jewish gonna help him do it. Go ahead.
Remember you not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now you know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in this time. For the mystery of lawlessness does already work. Only he who now lets will let until he be taken out of the way.
Right. My elder used to say all the time, we're going to have the biggest problem we ever even thought about when the spirit is taken out of the way. And the adversary going to go in full speed. And it's going to be real easy to tell which versions have some oil left in their lamps. And which people just got lamps to show, but they ain't got no spirit in them. See, oil is a symbol of the spirit. See, it take darkness for you realize who don't have a light. So everybody look like they got a light in the daytime. But what happens when it get dark? Go ahead.
And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Adonai shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause Elohim shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie.
And this is a situation that we don't want to be in. Because when you backtrack how you became victim to something, and it's something that I've had to do in my own life. Got deceived, I had to go put it in reverse. All right, let's figure out how I got deceived. See, it has nothing to do with your intelligence level. See, if you got certain things off in your heart that left a hole in your armor, that's where the deception crept in at. That's why you became victim to it. And at some point or another, we all gonna have to do it. So you put it in reverse, figure that out. And if you get to this point, you sure don't want to get to the point where the reason you fail is because he gave you strong delusion. You better hope that ain't it. It says, and for this cause Elohim shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. You know it's a lie, but you still want to believe it. You know it ain't the truth, but you still drawn to it. That's strong delusion. Go ahead.
That they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. But we are bound to give thanks always to Elohim for you, brethren beloved of the Adonai, because Elohim has from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth, whereunto he called you by our gospel, to the obtaining of the glory of the Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which you have been taught.
Right. Stand fast and hold the traditions which you have been taught. Now, the problem is, if you're learning from everybody and you have brought some deceivers in your midst, they are giving you some traditions that are the traditions of men and not the traditions of this book. This is where it gets cloudy. So you have to stand fast and hold the traditions that are correct, not the traditions that you got from the deceivers. Because they slide things in and it starts off as the word, then it jumps off into something else, and then it ends back up with the word. Now, if you holding fast to that, you're going to have some issues. Because those things are not of Yahweh. Go ahead.
Whether by word or our epistle. Now our Adonai Yahshua the Mashiach, himself, and Elohim, even our Father, which has loved us, and has given us everlasting consolation and good hope through grace.
Right. Go ahead.
Comfort your hearts and establish you in every good word and work.
Right. So what we got to do is just keep on laboring in the faith. We may fall sometime. We may get off into something. You step off. You don't end up like the sow, the pig that was washed, returned to the wallowing in the mire. You don't go back to the mud once he gets you out of it. You fall, you get back up. You dust yourself off and you get back on the path. Comforting your hearts and establish you in every good work. That means you got to keep working. Because from time to time, we may do something and we burn up our good deeds with something else that we did. But if you continually working, that means you always got something on your account. Maybe you burnt up something yesterday, but I worked this morning. I got something on my account. So if my name get called today, I got something on my account. Ain't nothing worse than getting at the register and realize that you ain't got nothing on your account. You got all this stuff in your buggy. And you know something done went wrong with your card when they start making them phone calls. When they ask you, let me see that card again. Huh? Let me see that card again. They start blowing on it. Now, that blowing on it ain't gonna make no money go in that account. I don't care how. I don't care what you do to that card. They start trying to wipe it out. Okay, do it again. If it ain't in that account, it ain't gonna go through. You do not want Yahshua to show up, and there's nothing on your account. And how he gonna keep us honest? I ain't telling you when I'm coming. See, if you know what time he coming, you know we be slick. He coming at 2:30. I'm gonna work at 2:27. Right. That ain't gonna work. That's all that we're gonna do for tonight. Enjoy your new moon. Shalom.
Shalom.